pretty much back to where they were before. I do want to, I think we've talked about this before too, but they are using the Burns field building for camp this year, and it's for their 13 to age 22 camp. It turns out that everyone going there is a Hinsdale resident too, which is super nice. So people are really excited. It's an easy location for them. We are the only location that they're at this summer that has a pool available too. So the Elmhurst location still doesn't have the kids in a pool at Elmhurst. They've been going to our pool for almost a month now. So if you look at the very back page of their packet, there's actually a picture of them using the pool. And they're still using VEC softball. So they use softball. They started back in April, and they just finished their season this past Sunday. They actually hosted the state SRA tournament at VEC for their end of season softball. So we've been super excited and glad that we are able to provide space for them, considering we impact so many of our residents too. So that's all I have for Gateway, unless you guys have questions.
And is this just the beginning of their fiscal year that everything's at
Their fiscal year starts in July. Yeah.
COVID notwithstanding, it's probably a pretty stable group of people that participate.
They are. So they even with COVID, they still had that full group of people participating, like on doing their online things or their take home things. So it is a pretty stable group. Yeah.
Sort of year after year until they age out.
Yeah. So you technically age out at 22, and at 22. We don't have a program for them. So at 22, some places, like if you go to CSPAR, SRA, they're a standalone SRA, and they have like a transition, it's not a transition program, they have an adult program, and they call it a day program. It's basically like a couple of apartments put together, and you can go in there and you learn, how to manage an apartment, run an apartment. Sometimes it's doing job duties, like you're learning how to work in somewhere. So we don't offer that through Gateway, but Ray Graham does, who's the parent company of Gateway. So we do have that opportunity, not necessarily straight through Gateway, but we send them to Ray Graham through it. And then the village can still subsidize it. So, yeah.
It's a great program. Okay, moving on to the monthly report, recreation staff report for June 2021.
Yep, let's start with the lodge. So the lodge is actually, we're doing well. We're getting a lot of, all of the bookings that we had are moving forward, and we're getting constant calls. We actually had a Eid celebration at the lodge today. So I don't know how much you know about the Muslim community, but Eid, at the end of Ramadan, you have Eid, and then 60 days later there's another celebration of Eid. So today was the 60-day celebration of Eid, and they had a group of 160 people at the lodge for 8 hours today to celebrate the holiday. So we're getting a lot of interesting bookings like that we normally wouldn't have. So they had hookahs outside today because it's part of their culture too, and so very fun stuff. We're also seeing an increase of memorial services. So a lot of those people that had loved ones pass last year that they didn't get to have services for, we're seeing them come in now along with just the regular memorial services we get. So we just in the last week, we've booked 4 additional memorial services. We have one every week for the next 4 weeks right now. So not that you really want to be capitalizing on that, but people are seeing that it's a place that's good for it, and they're coming in on top of all the weddings that we have and other business events. We also are going to be partnering with the Historical Society to rent the Zook, to rent out the Zook studio. So I met with them last week. Hillary and I went with the Historical Society and walked through the Zook studio, which is the smaller building, not the actual house, but the smaller building. It's really nice. They did a nice job renovating it inside. We'd like to include it as part of a rental package. So we haven't settled on the fee yet, but if you're renting for a wedding or whatever, 8 hours, you could have that, whether it's the groom's room, the bride's room, just it could be an area for like hors d'oeuvres, cocktails, whatever, but we'd like to start giving that as an option for people to rent with their packages. And the part of the whatever that hourly rate is, part of it would come to us, part of it would go to the Historical Society to help them raise the funds they need to actually finish the Zook House. So the Zook House is amazing inside. Like it's such a neat house, and it will be, once they actually have the funds to rebuild that, it'll be fantastic. Like we were joking, like someday you could see it like be kind of like an Airbnb. Like if you're getting married, you could come the night before and stay there, and it would be fantastic. I mean, it's a beautiful house inside.
Can you go inside?
Technically, it's not. The fire code says you're not supposed to take people through it. But because we were village staff and we were with the historic staff, I got to walk through. But they do want to create a video at least, though. So maybe they can walk through, they create a video, have someone come in and do it, just because I think once people really see what's inside, like see the bones of the place, I think the people would be more interested in contributing to help finish it. So, yeah, it's beautiful, but I'm really excited. They have some really great photos of Zook houses and like how the Zook house actually got to KLM, like how it was moved on the flatbeds and everything.
For that, yeah.
And we talked about getting some of those photos to put in the lodge, because right now some of our photos in the lodge are like pictures of racehorses, and I don't know why they're there. I said it would make more sense if we get these pictures that we have to tie the two places together. So that's going to be a step that they're going to be doing in the next few weeks as well. So
Heather, what's the capacity of the studio?
the studio, it's 400 square feet. I want to say that they said 30 people. So you could do a nice rehearsal dinner there. You can do, with a tent outside, you could do, cocktail hour or something like that easily. It could be a place for like a bridal shower or baby shower, anything like that.
Any idea what the cost is to restore the house?
When they got I don't know for sure, but I know when they got a quote a few years ago, they told them close to $1 million to do the inside of that house. Yeah. So anyway, we would like to see it up and running. So anything we can do, we've been partnering some rec classes with them too, to try to get some more attention and money kind of funneled to them to work on that
Is there a
project.
grant possibility there at all?
We did. We actually, when we had talked about doing the grant for the lodge, we wanted to wrap that in together. It was actually Michael Abraham who did the drawings for the lodge, and he's the one that did the drawings for the Zook house. So if the park grant comes up again, we would look to include that in the package instead of just doing the lodge. However, they're talking about wanting to possibly use the Zook house during the week as like a museum. And there are museum grants that the state puts out every so often. So we're going to keep watching for them. And if that's the case, we would apply for something like that, where it could be like maybe evenings and weekends it's used for rental capacity, but during the daytime it would be used as like an educational museum component. Yeah. Okay, so you can see the lodge is doing well. I realize I haven't put 2022 on here yet, so I will make sure I have that done for the September meeting, so you can just see how 2022 is booking. But we are getting a lot of bookings for 2022 as well.
Is the transition center still renting?
They're not
From
right
high
now. They
school?
went back to the school. Again, with numbers increasing and the guidelines are putting out for schools again, they have kind of left it open with Hillary saying we may come back, but they don't know yet at this point. Any other questions on the lodge? So we included the special events in here. Book Walk has been a hit. We've getting so many people just giving us positive feedback on it. People have really enjoyed it. Right now we have one out at KLM, and it kind of goes, it starts near the parking lot and goes past both of the playgrounds. So we kind of capture people as they're walking to the playgrounds. The book is called Plants Can't Sit Still. It's a super cute book if you've never read it. Not that you would without young children, but it is a really cute book. This is a little outdated from when I wrote it, but we did Lunch on the Lawn last week with Scribble Monster. We had a huge group of people out in Burlington Park. It was really fun. It was actually a really cute show. Like sometimes you watch them, you're like, oh, as an adult, but it was actually super cute. So right now, Joey's out actually running our plug and play event in the park right now, which is Family Fitness Night, which is led by Inner Jasmine. So Katya from Inner Jasmine is running the Family Fitness Night with us. And then upcoming this Friday, we have Christmas in July. It's not actually Floatin'. It's at Robbins Park. Yeah, sorry. It's at Robbins Park, but we do have Santa and Mrs. Claus coming and some like Christmas crafts and popcorn and stuff like that. So, and then everything else we have for the rest of summer. The book walk for August is actually going to be at Robbins Park, and we just decided it's going to be a book called All Are Welcome, and it's just about a group of kids going back to school. So. Any questions about events?
I was surprised when I first saw the book walk. I think I saw one of them at Burns.
Yep.
And I kind of expected something a little bit more substantial. Have you thought about?
Yeah, we've talked
blowing
about the
up pages
library.
to kind of
We did. I think if we do it next year, we're going to do yard signs, something a little more permanent. It was kind of a last minute thing, and we were partnering with the library, and neither of us had money at the time we were allowed to spend, so we were trying to do it as inexpensively as we could in-house. Now that things are kind of in a different direction, we have a little bit more money to spend. I think we would go with more permanent, like a yard sign or something a little more stable that will just protect the pages a little bit better. I think we were probably out there at least once a week trying to restaple those and like get them back up, and yeah. So long.
And it's a neat idea.
Yes.
I just-
Long story
I
short,
think
yes,
it
we
could-
would be
yeah, I
looking
think
to do
it
something
could
more
be a
substantial.
nice-
Yes. And I know the library has expressed interest in doing it again next year, so we would both put some money toward it just to make it a little bit nicer. Yeah. I think two of you, at least, were at the parade. Thank you very much for your help. The parade went really well. We live streamed the parade this year. We found out afterwards that the fire department has a drone and that we also have access to YouTube, which we didn't know before. So different just ideas for next year, different ways to do it. But we did get some positive feedback on having it live streamed for people that weren't around. And we actually had a really great group. We've had nothing but positive comments back from the community on the parade this year. So, and I
How was
think
the-
we have.
How was the attendance? How was that sound?
So we originally were nervous, but we had we were only four. Was it 3 or 4, Maggie? 3 or 4 groups less than we normally would have in the parade. I don't know that people really noticed because we had 3 times the fire trucks that we normally do. So it was that part was great. The attendance on Garfield looked slightly less than usual. However, when you went into the downtown, it was packed, like more than it ever had been. We got numerous calls from PD or fire just being like, watch codes, just make sure people aren't getting in the streets. It was the busiest they've ever seen the downtown area. All of the restaurants were packed, and just all that area down there using their outdoor dining. So I think those people that normally maybe come find a spot on Garfield were like, nope, we're going to go downtown. And the parking garage was busy too. So we had a lot of people driving in the parking garage, walking out from there. So
You guys did a great job as usual.
Yep,
So
thank you.
Really, it was fun. It was so nice to be kind of back to normal.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
next year it is on a
felt
Monday. So
It's on a Monday?
it's on a Monday next year.
Oh.
Yeah.
how about the proportion of paid participants versus volunteers?
Do you know off the top of your head how many we have? I'm trying to remember.
Or is that just a function of we set aside a certain amount of budget? and as
The
much as
biggest
that?
majority, we set aside about $15,000 to pay for everything, whether it's the videographer, the photographer, and the people that are in the parade. I don't think we spent all of that this year. We had a little extra money because we didn't have some of the big bands that came in. But I would say 75% of the participants are local.
Yeah.
Maybe 60, but the majority of the parade are local community groups, whether it's the schools, the library, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Little League, something like that. The majority of our groups are.
And we did get new businesses that signed up to do it this year that came back and filled gaps where previous businesses were that didn't come back. We
think-
definitely didn't have as many entries that we needed to pay because some people retired. Some of the marching bands didn't know how things were going to shake out in January, so they didn't have like
Yeah.
a summer program planned.
I think off the top of my head, I
So-
think there were 13 people we tried to get. And I think it was 10.
Yeah.
I think it was about 10 paid people. And then we have people that pay us. Like, so you're active, any businesses like Lovato Salon was in there, so they pay us to be in it. Top Driver pays us to be in it. Or any of the, anyone who's actively running for
elected
office
office, yeah.
pays us, yes.
So in an election year, like Sean Caston would pay anybody that's not an invited dignitary does have to contribute.
Right.
But it's not an election year. We only had like maybe 2 or 3 people that were like really kicking off early. So
Right.
The high school band, I ran over and saw it at Grant as well at
Yeah.
the end. And the director walking by, he's like, we really would like to be separated a little
we'll
bit
move them.
from the,
We
it's
will.
like artillery, and then
Infantry.
and then infantry,
And we'll move them
and then
somewhere
the
else.
band was over here.
Yeah.
But they love to be at the front of the parade. They don't want to kind of give up their spot being near the front. And then I was like, well, you can't really put the cheerleaders next to the artillery either because they're all like, chanting the whole way.
We'll move somebody. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but they did request that, so I forgot to tell you.
So that's it on special events. Next would be field and park updates.
The real quick dog
yeah.
days at the pool, are we doing that this
Yes.
year?
Yeah.
Oh, we are.
The weekend after, was it the 14th or the 11th? The 11th.
The 11th,
Yes.
okay.
It's a Saturday. Thank you. Did I have it listed? All right. That's right. So field, we are booking up all of our fall field space. We have most of our spaces booked and taken at this point. We're going to see Falcon football back. We're going to see lacrosse groups back, soccer. St. Isaac's has a team coming back again this year. So most of our field space we'll see booked again. The other neat thing we have going on right now is 2 Eagle Scout projects. So we had one Eagle Scout that just this past Friday completed the rest of the nature playground out at KLM. So if you remember 2 years ago, we had an Eagle Scout that did part of the nature playground, and then we had three additional pieces that we got to have put in. And this Eagle Scout came in and did it, remulched the area, everything. So it looks like a full regular nature playground again. So I will get pictures to those to you guys in the next week or so. He was going to get me some of his before and after pictures I wanted to show you, but it looks fantastic. They did a great job. And then we have another Eagle Scout project. So we actually had $9,000 in our budget to kind of spruce up Eleanor's Park. So it's just looking dated. It's kind of getting overgrown. It just doesn't look very cared for. And the knee wall that's there is this beautiful place people could be sitting and enjoying, and it's just not inviting right now. So we have money for it, but we had an Eagle Scout approach us looking for something to do, and he just told us last week he would like to move forward with the project. So they are actually going to be coming in and doing the work that we originally had budgeted. So we're going to use some of that money to work on Arrett Park just kind of move it to a different park that we have that needs to have some work done. He's hoping to start it in August. He just depends how his fundraising goes, but he's hoping to start in August, and we'll have it completed by the end of the fall.
Who are the 2 Eagle Scouts?
The young man that did the job out at KLM, his name is Lucas, and he's actually from North Carolina. He just came here with his family, and so it was him and his dad and his mom and his brother, basically. They did all of the work, and with some Parks and Rec staff, or with some public services staff. And the young man who's doing the project over at Eleanor's Park, his name is Ferris, and he's with the Clarendon Hills Scout group, and I can't remember what group it is. I'm sorry what their number is, but he's with
That's
the
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So anyway, we're super excited, and I'm glad that we're getting kind of regular Eagle Scouts approaching us asking for projects, which is great. So last thing on here we have is the pool. As you can see, the pool is doing really well with passes this year. We're about 14,000 ahead of where we were in 2019. I didn't show 2020 because all we did was daily fees, and it isn't a true apples to apples. So I showed you what 2019 looked like and what 2020 looks like. Our daily visit fees are very comparable to where they were in 2019 as well. So they may actually end up being slightly higher. Right now, as of July 16th for our daily fees, we had $12,680, it's just half of the month. So we may be actually slightly higher in daily fees than we were in 2019.
So the neighborly is what I feel, there was a big increase in the neighborly passes.
We did, and it's because a lot of pools didn't announce that whether they were going to open and what capacity they were going to open under. So we had a lot of people coming in. We've had a lot of complaints from people about Clarendon Hills pool, because when they originally were going to open, they were opening with you had to do 1 hour and 15-minute reservations, and that was it. And you can only reserve once a week. So it was such a strict guidelines that they had that people were just like, why would we get a pass? Why would we do that? So we had a lot of people that would go there, people that would maybe go to Burr Ridge. Normally, we had a lot more LaGrange, Western Springs people just coming in. So I don't know that number will stay where it's at, especially if pools open up next year. And Clarendon Hills has relaxed their policies, and people are able to get in there now. So I don't know that it'll stay that way, but they might. We've had a lot of compliments from how much people like our pool. So, and with the new deck and the new painting and everything next year, it'll look nice and new too. So. The other thing that we don't list it on here, but we are also going to see an increase in rental revenue, not over last year, because again, last year was a weird year, but you'll see an increase over rental revenue over 2019. So overall, you will see higher expenses for the pool this year, because our pay rate's now up to our minimum wage is $11 an hour. So you're going to see a little more expense in the expense side, but our revenue is going to more than cover that.
Are you able to find staff?
We were able to find staff this year. Yeah, I think we had some extras. So usually an issue we have, we struggle last minute, but we're good with staff this year.
And I was actually going to ask you about staffing at the lodge. Was that all filled? Because I know we were.
So what we did was we got creative and hired interns. So because turns out there's a huge market for interns in that right now, because nowhere was open. People couldn't go to hotels and get their job or internships, things like that. So we actually got 2 lodge interns for the summer. And one of them is going to stay on. She just graduated, so she's actually going to stay on in the part-time capacity after her internship is done. So we probably still need one more person, but we did advertise. We are going to advertise for a fall intern as well. So it's really good experience. And then usually they're 20, 21, so they're old enough to be able to be there and run the events. And
didn't that law change? That you only have to be 18 to serve now?
Yeah, it's not a serving issue. It's the village's policy where if you're in charge of closing a building, they prefer that they have someone over the age 21. You don't have to be, but it is 18 for serving. Okay. Yeah. We don't actually serve anything. We always have someone else that comes in and does it. Yeah, bartending staff. So, And then John's report's on here for the monthly report. He would have been here, but he's in Vermont enjoying himself with his family. So he did start including this little category at the end called other, because he realizes that in his total of hours, it doesn't always really explain where every single hour goes to. And these are all like random things where I call and say, hey, someone's vandalized this. Can you manage that today? Or this needs to be changed. And he'll tell you, especially lately, we've had pretty significant vandalism happening around town, not even just in parks, just around town. So he's been getting called away on a lot of stuff like that. I really can't talk more about it just because I know there's some minors involved in it and the police are handling, but there's been a significant amount of vandalism kind of just upticking. Nothing super serious right now, but I can tell you, look what happened at Robbins. Someone, actually, you had asked me about it, actually.
Yeah.
The bathroom electricity had been out. Someone had taken and kind of knocked the panel that controls the electric had just basically ripped it off the wall. They also set firecrackers off in the porta potties after the bathrooms were closed. So if you can imagine what that was like. So there's just nothing super crazy. And generally it's not like the one was ComEd had to come out and they paid to fix it. Porta potties, we called the company, they came out and cleaned them. So it's not super extensive damage at this point, but it is happening more frequently. So
We have surveillance for most of the village where we can, if somebody comes and does something,
not
we
in
can
the
get a
parks.
license plate and things like that.
I believe they do throughout the village, but not in the parks. So that's a next step. We were talking about that for capital planning, is getting surveillance into all the parks. So
Are these mostly Hinsdale kids?
I don't know actually. Yeah, because I think a lot of it's been minors. There's not much that's shared with us. So, but yeah, so that's a lot of what it is. Like he talks about going and cleaning out the skate park. The skate park's empty, but someone decided to bring in and try to build their own equipment, and then tagged all of it with profanity.
Oh my gosh.
They did it like after hours. They cut through the fence, went in there. Like, I mean, they had like cinder blocks and pipes and all kinds of stuff, and then tagged it too. So just random things like that they're having to clean up.
A lot of
So,
effort.
yes.
There's another Eagle Scout project.
So that's it for the
And
staff
sorry,
report.
why did you have to remove the disc golf?
So there's been, for many years, that back corner, that's northeast corner, there's the Burridge residents live there. When discs get thrown over, people have been jumping the fence to get them. Well, it stopped with just people jumping the fence. They're now urinating into people's backyards. They're now ripping down cameras. They're, I mean, it's getting to be, the people that live there are elderly, and they're starting to feel threatened. People they have cameras back there to monitor it, and it has went so far as where people have tried to rip the cameras down, threatened to come and get them, like things like that. So the police have been called a number of times to manage it, and we just decided we're going to pull them to not encourage them to go to that corner, and we found an area to relay them where they'll have the same clear sight line, the same. I mean, it's basically going to be the same distance and everything. It's just we needed to pull them out and relay
Is
them.
that over by the new field, the new
Yes,
turf?
in this way they're going to all stay west of the new field too.
Okay.
So they
Is
shouldn't
that
have.
field being rented this fall
It
now?
is. Yep.
Oh,
We have two
excellent.
lacrosse groups out there using those fields pretty regularly.
Oh, good.
So,
Good.
and we just started with a new group called East Avenue Lacrosse, who's using that space out there pretty regularly. Yeah, this will keep them off that field too, so there's no reason for them to have to go in that corner. I can send you one of the emails with a lady. Her husband sent me an email saying, as soon as we found out you pulled those pads, he's like, we literally sat out there and cried. She's like, she goes, because every year we try something new, like let's put up new signage, let's increase the fence height, let's do something, and it doesn't seem to be a deterrent. So, and it's unfortunate because it's adults and it's generally people who aren't residents, it's people coming in from outside that are playing our course, and it is a great course. Like if you go to look up our course, it's rated like 4.7 out of 5. So it's a great course for people. It's just unfortunate that there's a handful of like those bad seeds in there. So anyway, it'll be back in place. We just had to get some new sleeves to put the baskets in. They just came in yesterday, so I anticipate with the next week both the pads and baskets will be back. So.
And how are our garden rentals going? Did you end up those 6 plots by Wellness
We have
House?
4 of them rented. Is that
4
right?
out of the 6?
So how many?
That's 4 of the 6. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
6.
We have the 2 low.
Oh, they weren't. Oh,
So
those are
all
never
6 of
finished.
the raised beds are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you did all 6 of the raised beds you meant. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, all 6 of those
Okay.
then.
I was wondering how that was going to go.
We were actually out there very early on, and someone had like done a really nice job of weeding theirs and everything. And John Fennell was with us, and he goes, I don't recognize this. And he pulled it out, but I was like, that's one of their plants. He thought it was a weed. It like just pulls it. So he like gently replants it. And
Okay, any other old business?
nope.
Nope. New business, the new Irma Butler tot lot equipment.
So I did give you guys a new photo. It just that photo's from about 10 years ago. It's the kid list photo where it talks about our playgrounds. We only have one dedicated tot lot in town, so it's a lot that's meant for ages 2 to 5. It's fenced in and it sits right next to the community house, and it was always used by their their preschool. When it was put in, it was named after Irma Butler, who I believe was involved with the preschool there. I don't know for sure, but that's what I was always told is Irma Butler was someone that was involved with starting the preschool at the community. That's at the community. No, I'm sorry.
She was a village
Hinsdale.
somebody. Oh, okay.
She may have been. Brad and I just had this conversation, and we thought that she was someone who started the preschool that's there, the Hinsdale
Okay, I
preschool
can
or whatever
find
it was. But we could be wrong. That's just what we thought it was. Anyhow, we had discussed with the preschool if there's anything that they wanted to see changed. We really wanted to just make sure that it was ADA compliant because it's currently not, and that we were meeting the needs of what the community really needs. So for the most part, we're putting in very similar, like the swings are similar, the big main play piece is similar. The only thing we're really changing out are the individual rockers that you have that are there, like the individual pieces, and we wanted to put in, it's a new version of basically a seesaw, like a teeter-totter, and they're basically seats you sit in and each side goes. So instead of 2 kids, or I mean, I guess you could have fit like 12 kids on those when I was little. You'd like pile 6 on each side, right? But there's four people basically. They're much safer, and it's ADA compliant. So anyone in a wheelchair would be able to access that and use it as well. We're going to put everything back. We're going to use the same floor or the same plan that they have there. We're going to actually bring up the mulch. We want to get rid of the mulch and either do a turf surface or a poured in play surface. So when we bid it out, we're going to bid out the options to see which one it makes more sense. I think I mentioned to you, Alice, earlier, my son and I have been making it our business this year to visit every playground in Wheaton and Glen Ellen. So it's hilarious because we'll drive past one and he'd be like, Mom, should we go there? I don't think we've been there. So I've seen both poured in play surfaces and the turf surfaces. Both are good options. Turf, you can cut and move pieces if you need to. Like if something gets worn or if there's an issue with it, you can usually cut and put a new piece in. Poured in place is a little more, it requires a little more maintenance, like if you have to replace a piece of it, but it has a longer lifespan. So if any of you have been to the pool, we have a poured in place surface underneath our high dive. So it's like the compressed rubber that's kind of squishy and it gets painted. So we're going to put both options out there. So before we settle on it with our bids, you guys will have a final kind of what would you prefer to see. But both of them are good options. They're both low maintenance, which means no more weeding, no more spraying, no more getting mulch out there. So in the long run, they're going to save us money and time. And then we're going to replace the picnic shelter that's there. Currently, it's a wood picnic shelter, and it's seen better days. So there is a picture in here. It's not our park, but this picture is what the new shelter would be something similar to. It's just a metal shelter that you can fit a couple picnic tables underneath. Really, what I'm looking from you guys is if you have a preference on color. So the existing colors are the red, white, and blue theme. The picture that they did for us, if you look at the very last page of colors, it's the palette BA. That's the current scheme that they gave us the drawings in, but it doesn't need to be. That's just what they gave us options for. So we can really pick any color. My only thing I would say is that every one of our playgrounds in town is scheduled to be replaced in the next 14 years. So we have one going every other year. Sometimes they're there every year, but I would maybe recommend whatever we choose to maybe be consistent across town with it. It's easier to replace pieces then. It's easier to just maintain. If you're interested, John and I personally enjoy like the green, brown, yellows. They just seem a little more natural, or else the blues. But really, it doesn't matter. I just wondered if you guys had any opinions, any preference.
I would defer to somebody who's gone and visited every park in the whole.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know,
Your visual.
Wheaton has like some really like there's purple and orange playgrounds like at the Seven Gables Park. Like it's like bright purple and orange. I'm not a fan of that, but I personally, John and I really like the first page where you have kind of these the new palettes, the CB and BY and things like that. They just seem a little more natural. They seem to kind of fit in the park space better. But again, it really doesn't matter. If you guys would prefer to see blues, there's some really nice blue ones that we liked too, like the blue and green options. If you don't have a preference, then we will.
I don't have a preference.
I don't have it, but I don't mind
I'll
the
literally
primary
react
colors
to it.
for that age group.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, they're learning their colors
Sure.
and they're, right? These 2
Yep.
and 3 and 4-year-olds,
Well,
but,
I'll just let Wes point to the one he likes best.
but
and
yeah.
see where it goes.
Are you,
Just kidding.
are you suggesting, I think you are, and I would agree with it, of like sort of picking a palette and staying.
And sticking with it
consistent
throughout the
through
village.
town?
Yes, yes.
kind of like our benches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Just kind of make it consistent throughout town. It makes replacement and all of that a lot easier because places a lot of times they'll share components, and it just makes that going forward a lot easier. Yeah.
Same with the mulch, getting rid of the mulch.
I would go forward every playground. I recommend putting a poured and played or turf surface. Yes. So again, Wheaton playgrounds, every single one is either poured and played or turf. You don't have they're moving away from all of the mulch surfaces. Yeah.
And do we not, because there's a little shelter there, we don't have benches? Is this an opportunity to place some more benches?
So there's benches outside of the pavilion, but there's none inside. But there is potential to have people donate more benches in there if we'd like to. And we are running out of benches to donate. I know that sounds crazy, but we are. We have very few left throughout the park, so we can come up with some new locations like
Around
there.
the parks, I remember like watching your kids and stuff, when
Yep.
you no longer have to push them on the swing.
We
It's like,
also
just
would like to
sit
start
down.
having people donate picnic tables because we need to replace our picnic tables as well.
That's a great idea.
So
Garbage cans.
And the garbage
yes,
cans.
Yeah.
The whole set, it's
yeah.
a set. It's
we
a
are
picnic
we
table
are
with
working on replacing the
can
garbage
set.
cans, but the picnic tables, yes, that's what was our next plan is have people start donating picnic tables.
Maybe we should donate the last bench in honor of Patrick.
Okay, you should. That's actually funny. So if you guys don't have any preference, then we'll just
Well,
kind of.
I just have a question on the structure.
Yep.
And I don't mean to be nitpicky or here and think, but the new one seems so much smaller than the big one. The big one has that nice extended area and the peekaboo tunnel, and
It-
I don't feel like we have that in the new one.
No, the new one, and I asked that too. They really don't make these big sprawling ones anymore. They're usually a little more compact with more entry climbing points. And I know you can't necessarily see it either, but in this one, on the underside, there's a lot of activity pieces in there. So like some little music pieces you can play with. In general, they're trying to go away from those big sprawling pieces. And any playground area you go to, they look for these little more compact with the areas being what they are.
I mean, I did have a similar reaction.
Yep.
It looks very sparse.
It may just be the
It just looks
rendering
like there's
itself,
not much
yeah.
there.
I think part of it's the rendering. So if you
And you're
and part of it's what fits
and
in
you're
the space
flipping
now.
the
So I don't know if you
location
can
of them,
see.
right?
I think you guys do have this one. Let me make sure.
I think they're being
No,
flipped.
they don't have the.
No,
yeah,
sorry.
no,
If you look at the very first one, they put the area that's required. Like they have the dotted line. That's like your fall zone, jump zone. So they kind of indicate around the very first page of yours.
Yep.
What?
Probably got bigger over the years.
Right, like Sammy said, that space around those, the fall zone, jump zone areas has actually just gotten bigger over the years. Like they require more and more space. Because we originally were thinking about putting a fourth piece in here, and there's no way for them to fit it in with the where the sidewalk is and where all of these pieces currently are. I know when you look at it, it does look smaller, but you still have actually you have 3 slides now because one's a double slide. So there's 3 slides instead of 2. You still have a climbing wall area. It's just all in this big square as opposed to spread lengthwise. Does that make sense?
Literally not a way to squeeze a fourth one in there if you moved things around?
Nothing that was large. I mean, we could put some small, like if you want like one of those little rockers again, or if you want like little drum sets or something, you could put a small component in there. But there's nothing large will fit in there. Like nothing. We were looking at like they have the ADA capable merry-go-rounds. It basically looks like a merry-go-round and fits 5 people in it. It spins. That was something else we were thinking about putting in there. It just doesn't. There's no footprint for it. Again, something smaller, like if you wanted to go back and use something like those little rocking horses that they have, or if you wanted like an interactive like play panel, we can do something like that. So, either way.
I think if we have the budget for it,
becomes a budget
if
issue
it's a
at some
budget
point.
issue.
We could add them, yeah, I don't, as of right now, with what's here, depending where our bids come in, and they're kind of all over the place right now related to materials and everything from COVID, but depending where it comes in, they're thinking we're gonna be right at budget. However, turf is a little less expensive than poured in place, so if we went with turf, we might be able to. I'll just ask them to add another component as an option, and when we
Okay.
come to it, then
That
we
would be
can.
great. Because it looks like you flipped the layout, right?
Yep.
So that area over there where the swings and the new seesaw, I mean, that was a big area here, and here, well,
Yep, let me just have them come up with an option for another piece that will fit it in there in the area still.
I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is all of this is ADA compliant, and you have to be able to fit a wheelchair around it. So you need more clearance that way as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
But that's probably contemplated in the.
in that
Yeah,
space.
in that
it's there.
space, but I will ask them to come up with some
But a
other
smaller,
options and see what
unique
other.
item, like some of the ones that you were mentioning, I think is a great addition.
Yep. Yep, and they have some smaller pieces, like, again, like those rocking, there's a bunch of different things with like the rocking horses, or there's the interactive panels that you can play with and stuff too. Even some like, we just did out at KLM, there's like steppers, little like log steppers that we put in. I mean, you can even do something small like that just to add another component.
Okay. So this playground is 25 years old?
Yes.
This equipment?
Yep, all of our playgrounds in
Wow.
Hinsdale, with exception of Pierce, were all put in between 2001 and 2005. So they're all getting to that point. Yep.
Okay.
And this was a 2001. So I guess we're 20 years. Sorry.
Okay, any other questions on the tot lot? No? All right, any correspondence?
No correspondence.
All right, other business, the paddle hut update.
So I do have some photos for you that we took. This was the end of, like, I guess, middle or early of last week. So the whole outside of the building is completed, like the framing and all that's done. The inside, they should be coming in for their rough final within the next week. So all their rough components are in there. That they should be doing that. I've been told they're on schedule with the newer schedule that they have. But it's coming along well. There haven't been any major setbacks at any point. I don't know, Alice, if you've had a chance, have they taken you in there or shown you anything? Or?
No, I have
Okay,
not.
I haven't been able to go in and
I'm in
either,
my
so-
golf world right now in the summer,
Gotcha.
so.
Okay. No, I haven't been able to. I wasn't when I was there taking photos. They wouldn't even let me like up near the building. They were doing some work around the outside. So, but yeah, from what I talked to community development, according to their permit, they're on track and they are coming in for they should be coming in next week to have their rough final done. So.
Great.
And this was scaled back a bit from the original design.
Slightly, so they're not doing the cupola anymore. I
Yeah,
think
I
that was
saw that.
part of one of the original things. Yeah, it is scaled back slightly. Not outside of that, not much else changed though.
The building size has expanded quite a bit though, because it used to end more like right here.
Yeah, like right after that
Deck and
brown, the
something.
brown doors you
Maybe
see
that-
there. Yeah,
Will there still be like sort of an outdoor deck area? Was that?
there's gonna be like a little patio
A little
area
patio
there.
over here. It's
Yeah.
gonna be right here in the front.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thank you for that update.
Mhm.
That's great that it's moving along. Okay, is that it besides our? Do we
That's
have
all I had
anything
updates
else?
for right now. Unless you guys have questions about anything, that was it.
Oh, I had one question about tennis. How's tennis going, and are residents happy this year?
We've
And-
gotten a lot of positive feedback about Shauna and the program in general. She actually asked us that. We haven't done our survey yet for the year, but when we do that, we'll share that information with you. But we've had people actually reach out to us to tell us how great the program was. It's been filled, so it seems to be going really well.
The residents are happy they can play when they want to play, and we don't. have
I've had
court
no
issues?
complaints about tennis yet. I've had 2 complaints about pickleball in the last couple of weeks, but nothing
Again,
else. And it was residents doing exactly what we asked them to do, and people that wanted to do open play just not respecting it. So we've had that conversation with Bill again, and I'm hopeful that it'll change. I haven't heard any complaints since. I guess that was 2 weeks ago, right? I haven't heard any complaints since then. So I'm hopeful that the conversation we had with Bill and the big group was impactful. So. Though a couple of residents I did talk to said, we would be okay with going to a reservation system if it keeps this from happening. And I said, that may be what we look at moving forward with if
Is that feasible for us to implement?
I mean, it's a lot of, with our current system, it's a lot of administrative work. And I would tell you when Maggie was doing it for the pool, I mean, you're looking at just to get it set up, it was like a week's worth of work, just her doing nothing but that. So it's a lot administratively. We are looking at maybe doing a new different rec system for next year. So if we get a new system that's just more friendly, possibly. It's not that we can't do it. It's just a lot of work. So that's where we don't make tennis people do that either, and they figure it out. So we were hoping that they could figure it out and put
Attracting
the
people
rules
from
out there.
all over, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
huge- I mean,
And,
I went over to play at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And the courts were packed, and it was not an open play time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and then people left by the time open play was starting. I was,
Yeah.
we were
Well,
waiting.
we've also found out that the group, I think they call them the Pickle Pals, the group, have been arranging like get-togethers for people from all over to come and play on the courts. And I kind of explained to Bill, like, you can't do that. Like these things like this where you're having picnics and food brought in, like that requires permits. So I think he kind of backed off after a little bit, like not realizing that I said that it's not just that we don't want you doing it. You have to have a permit for that. Like that's village code. So I think that some of it is proximity. We have the most amount of courts in one space in this area. Like the next closest place that has this many courts is Hoffman Estates, and they have 10 or 12. I mean, they have a huge complex. It's a lot bigger than ours. So I do think we have a need for more pickleball, and I think we may have some areas to look at that we can put them in.
Did HPTA put their 2 in at Burns?
They did. That's the overlay, and I've had some people tell me that they played on it, but they said it's not great because it's the overlay surface and there's a different bounce to things. And though one of the ladies that had called about Brooke said, she's like, yeah, I played over there. She's like, it's okay, but like the Brooke courts are a lot better. It's a really
But
I
nice
think it's
facility.
nice for the people from HPTA that play both. It's nice that they have something that's kind of they have first right to.
Yep.
I mean, the community can go there too, but they get that. If they have a membership, you have a first right to that. So I think they've liked using it. So, yep.
No, I think they're great. Is that something we're still considering for the skate park relocation?
Yeah, we haven't really had any more conversation with that yet.
Because we're
It's
waiting
always
for the
kind of put it
toll
on hold. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it would be a possibility.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions about anything?
How about any other discussion on ice skating?
So we have looked into it. I have it actually on the schedule for September's meeting to talk about what we want to do with Burns again. Brad and I have been looking out here. The issue is synthetic ice is incredibly expensive. So it's about $2,200 per square foot. And so to get a 30 by 40 out there, we were looking at over $50,000. And Brad's like, yeah, I don't know if we can get that. I've reached out to 4 different companies. I even have our intern on it to try to get someone that would be like, this is a place to come advertise your stuff, like maybe something like that, like a sponsorship. And no one's taking the bait so far. What we've talked about doing, and one of the companies I reached out to said that they do a synthetic ice. They said synthetic ice works best when you don't move it. So it would need to stay there permanently. They said that if you pick it up and move it, it's easily damaged. You can't reuse it. He gave the example of someone that owns a building downtown. His rooftop is synthetic ice, and he said he leaves it up year round because his son's a big hockey player. So he said, and he's had it for almost 10 years. But he said when you move it, you risk damaging it. It needs to be completely flat surface. So the other thing about Burlington Park is it's not completely flat. We would have to pour a flat surface somehow. So we kind of went back to, again, a chiller? A chiller is the same amount of money. You're looking at $50,000 to $100,000 to invest in a chiller. So we came back around to, do we do an ice rink again? But we do
Hang on.
a small
What
one.
is a chiller?
A chiller is it would chill the ice. So you can have, as long as the
So
temperature.
it's artificial cooling kind
It's
of?
artificial cooling.
Artificial
Yeah,
freezing?
yeah. So it basically would be, I mean, if you imagine kind of like a generator, and then the pipes that run under,
Yeah,
and yeah. So I was trying to think of somewhere. Again, I'm coming back to Wheaton. It's where I live. Sorry.
Wilmette Park District put in
Wilmette, Wheaton has one that they do right next to the Marianos. They put one in there that's chilled ice. And they were able to have ice last year, like when it was like 50 degrees out. So chillers are great, but it's, again, super expensive. So we talked about putting out, again, like a 30 by 40 nice rink, which is what we do over at Burns, but it's a lot smaller. It wouldn't be as deep. But it comes back to, again, all weather. And so this gentleman that I talked to you about, he said, I've been in the ice business for 30 years. And he said, and he does every type of ice. He does chilled ice. He does the pre-built systems like our nice rink, and he also does synthetic ice. He said he has not had a single ice rink that is just like a poured nice rink system that's been up before January 15th in the last 5 years. And he said it's a pattern where it's continually getting later and later before it's cool. And I mean, that's what we're seeing too. We haven't had our ice rink up prior to January in 5 years. So So we kind of were stuck. We don't know what to do because we just don't have the money, especially when we have places like the lodge that need $50,000 for a new venting system and all kinds of things, as opposed to putting that's more of a nice to have, not a need to have. So we're hopeful. I'm hopeful that someone I'll reach out to will be like, yeah, of course, Hinsdale's a great place for me to advertise. And again, I think we could probably look into purchasing a smaller nice ring system and then just cross our fingers and hope that it works. So
Heather, does the synthetic ice, when you say don't move it, does that mean it needs to stay there year round?
yeah,
Same
he
location?
said you can, it comes in these, I think he said 4x4 sheets, basically. It's basically plastic that you kind of wet. That's it. It's like a sheen plastic that fits together and you wet it and you can skate on it then.
So you have this whole area that's kind of no longer grass in the summer at Burlington Park?
Yeah,
or
so
wherever it is?
if we decided to get it and moved it, he said it's not going, he said sometimes it won't even work the next season. Sometimes you'll get a few seasons at most. He said it's maintains the best if you keep it in one space and just have it. So we would have to have a permanent area. Now, that being said, it could be used all year round because it's synthetic. It doesn't require it to be cold to use it.
Oh.
So you could skate on it year round.
Really, if
It would
it's
just-
95,
You can skate, yep.
Really?
Yep, because it's literally just basically plastic that you wet. I mean, and then you can skate on it. So that's what he was talking about with the guy in the city about how his son goes out there in like middle of summer and practices. So
We're still investigating, and we're gonna
yes,
make it a
yes,
formal
but we'd
topic
we'd like to see it. I mean, it would go so well with all the other things we're trying to do in the downtown. Like we're going to be changing some of the landscaping out here to just kind of freshen it up, make Memorial Hall building in the park look nicer. On the EDC side of things that Sammy and I are working on, we've gotten some new lights and like some of those nice like bulbs that hang in the trees, like the big balls of lights, things like that we're going to do in Burlington, just to kind of freshen up the way our that area looks. So it would really add to the ambiance down there.
it'd be very cool.
Yeah. So if you know anyone that wants to donate $50,000 to Parks and Rec directly, please let us know.
Job as a commissioner.
All right.
Go find it.
Noted.
Noted.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'd be hopeful. And worst case, like I said, we can put in the couple thousand to buy the system and hope that we get cold weather and it would work down there. Even if we didn't do for the holidays, we could try to just have a second rink there for like January, February. So, but I will have the Burns ice rink discussion on September just so we can decide how we want to proceed with Burns for this year.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other
Any other
questions?
questions?
Okay, thanks for all those updates. That was super informative.
It was nice to
Okay.
see all of you.
Yes, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, September 14th. We will see you here in person, right?
Yep.
Back-
Unless
okay.
something changes, fingers crossed it doesn't. So we'll see you in
Sounds
September.
great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.